grab a cup. Have you noticed in the Western world, let's just talk about that specifically, there's a huge prevalence, like the numbers of people who suffer from anxiety, depression, panic attacks, chronic fatigue, exhaustion, chronic pain, autoimmune conditions. So whether it's more in the mental health realm or in the physical health realm, the vast numbers of people made me think quite a long time ago, what is going on? Is there really such a flaw in our design? Why is all of that happening, and why are the numbers growing? There isn't a flaw in the design, but let me share with you a perspective around all of those conditions that you may not have thought about in the past. So, if you've ever heard of Dr. Gabor Mate, I've taken classes with him, I listen to him all the time, you may want to do the same. This is an example of his. He talks about the natural agenda that nature has for everything. So, for example, an acorn has a natural agenda to grow into an oak tree. You don't have to teach an acorn how to grow into an oak tree. It will do that automatically if given the right conditions. So the right conditions are the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of water, the right soil. As long as those conditions are met, the acorn becomes an oak tree, right? A human being will become a healthy, self-regulated adult, healthy and self-regulated. So meaning without all of the conditions that I mentioned, the anxiety, the depression, the chronic this, and this, the autoimmune, all of that stuff. A child will become a healthy, self-regulated adult. You don't have to teach them. You just have to provide the conditions that allow that to happen. That is the natural order of things. So first of all, let's talk about self-regulated, okay? A self-regulated adult is someone who can experience a stressful situation and then get themselves back into rest, peace, safety, having a nervous system that can go back there, not stay in fight or flight and stress all the time. That's self-regulated. A self-regulated adult is someone who can experience emotions, understand them, allow themselves to feel them, process them out, and allow them to move through. Not someone who is afraid of certain emotions. Human beings are given a whole range of emotions, and we're supposed to have them. It's part of our nature. So a self-regulated adult can have those experiences, those emotions, process them out, and move through them. A self-regulated adult can communicate in a way that is effective, clear, authentic to themselves, without anger, without shouting, without, I'm going to stop talking to you for 3 days. That's how I communicate that I'm upset. None of that. Effective, clear, authentic, and receive communication back from others without feeling criticized, judged, defensive, getting in a fight. So giving and receiving communication effectively. Those are all traits of a self-regulated adult. And then the healthy part would be a body that's working, that's not developing all of these different conditions. And also, healthy means knowing how to nurture self, how to take care of self first, not after other people, unless you have infants that you have to take care of, but taking care of yourself, knowing how to feed yourself, rest, listen to yourself, say no to things, don't overwork, don't miss out on joy, be connected. That's all healthy, right? When we're not doing that, that's not healthy. So a healthy, self-regulated adult is the natural order of things, just like the acorn growing into an oak tree. So how does that happen? It's the same thing. You don't have to teach a child that. You have to give them the right conditions, which means have them grow in an environment where the caregivers are also self-regulated, are able to experience emotions and communicate and allow the child to do that. allow the child to grow in an environment where they get reaffirmed as they are trying out new things, as they are making decisions. And some of the decisions will be bad ones. Some of the things will be not in their best interest, and learning I'm still lovable even though I made a bad decision. So getting that sort of affirmation in that environment. The most important thing for a human being child is to be attached to the caregiver, to the parent. It's the most important thing. It's critical for survival. So if the child sees, when I get upset, my mom can't handle it. She can't handle her own emotions, and she doesn't want to see me upset. She's like, stop doing that, or I'll give you something to cry about, or anything like that. I need to stop showing my emotions. I shove them down. If as a human child, I see my parent needs help because they're an addict, they're an alcoholic, they are a single parent household and they're working 3 jobs and they're exhausted, whatever it is. And as a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old, I see that need and I step in to fill it, because the most important thing in the mind of a child is to stay attached. So let me help. Let me do things that a 6-year-old doesn't need to be doing. What a 6-year-old needs to be doing is figuring out how to make decisions for themselves, figuring out how to experience the world in a way that, allows them to grow. But when children are stepping in to fill the gaps for their parents, those conditions are not being met. They're learning what I need is less important than staying attached to my parent, which will translate as an adult. What I need is less important than what others need. So let me go and fill those gaps. Let me do everything for everybody else. When a child is in an environment where the conditions are very tense and stressful all the time, they figure out, if I can just be perfect, then I can maybe alleviate some of the tension here. Maybe I can make it easier and better. And maybe my parents will acknowledge me more. When we're not getting that acknowledgement and affirmations, we're looking for it elsewhere. We're looking for the status, all of the things that we try to acquire to make us feel good enough inside. So that is maybe a different perspective than you've ever heard around anxiety, depression, all of the chronic health conditions, etc. But it's a very important conversation, because look at the vast number of people, and it's growing. If you're an adult and you don't know how to get yourself out of stress, if you feel constantly anxious or depressed, if you aren't taking care of yourself, you have never really learned of how to put yourself first, how to do the self-regulation, how to spend time in connection and joy, how to communicate. We end up finding people who are at the same place we are. And if we're struggling with expressing emotions and communicating, we're probably with someone who's doing the same thing. And now the end result on that relationship is a lot of strain and a lot of distance. And then we're unhappy. All of those things. So now, even though we don't have to teach a child, just like we don't have to teach an acorn if we give them the right conditions, now as an adult, we do have to teach if those conditions were not there before. We have to teach the nervous system how to calm down again. It spent years in fight or flight. We do have to teach how to move emotions through the body. We do have to teach how to self-love, self-validate, self-regulate, all of the things. And that's what we do in the Return to You program. So if any of that resonated with you, if you have any of those conditions that I mentioned, if you feel like you're stressed all the time, drop me a comment so that I can reach out to you. We can have a conversation and see if that kind of work would make a difference for you. Have a good day.